Yusuf, Joseph, was the beloved child of Prophet Yaqub, Jacob. He also had 11 sons. Binyamin, the youngest, was born to exactly the same family as Yusuf, and the other sons were older half-brothers. Yusuf, who was still a small child, awoke one wonderful morning, enthralled by a wonderful dream he had just experienced. The boy ran towards his dad with exuberance and declared, "Oh, my father, indeed I have seen 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating to me." Yaqub was overjoyed to realize that his beloved son was indeed selected by Allah to receive the title of prophet. But Yaqub was concerned about his son's older brother's potential reaction to this story. Although Yaqub treated them in the same way and treated them with respect, they were jealous of Yusuf. Yaqub therefore advised Yusuf against sharing his dream to his brothers, lest they planned to bring him down. With time, the hatred within the hearts of Yusuf's brothers continued increasing. They admired Yusuf because they felt that he was unique, and they weren't. In a state of emotional turmoil, they devised a strategy to rid themselves of Yusuf and tossed him into a pond. Then, one day, they contacted their father with the idea that he invite Yusuf to accompany the group on an excursion. The very reluctant Yaqub told him, "Indeed, it saddens me that you should take him, and I fear that a wolf would eat him while you are unaware." However, their brothers insisted they'd ensure that Yusuf was taken care of, and also that Yusuf would have fun. The following day, Yusuf left with the brothers. They traveled a long distance, seeking a well deep enough for them to throw their brother into. Once they reached the well, under the pretense of drinking water, they led him there and grabbed him before they took off his shirt. Yusuf was fighting and begged to them to let go. The brothers eventually dominated Yusuf, then threw him over the well before rushing to their homes. The brothers ran for their father with Yusuf's shirt, which was splattered with blood of a sheep. They cried out, "Oh, our father, indeed we went racing with each other and left Yusuf with our possessions, and a wolf ate him." Yaqub was skeptical of their tale. He, in his heart, believed that his son was alive, and they were probably enticed through Shaitan, Satan, to commit evil. He said that the wolf had been kind to eat his son without breaking his shirt. He endured the loss with a sense of calm and was praying for his son's safety return, while Yusuf was able to hold to a ledge of stone, praying fervently to Allah to give him salvation. Soon, a van bound to Egypt stopped at the well to collect water. The water drawer emptied his bucket and was shocked by the handsome young man holding to the rope. The caravan's people immediately tied Yusuf and carried him to Egypt. In Egypt, he was auctioned and sold as slaves for the most expensive bidder. This was the treasurer Al-Aziz. The new master of Yusuf, who was not married, was totally enthralled by Yusuf. He instructed his wife to be sure that they took treatment of Yusuf and that they could employ him as a slave or give him as a son. Yusuf did not just grow up to be a gorgeous young man, but also was blessed with a wealth of understanding and wisdom from Allah. His integrity won the hearts of Al-Aziz, who put Yusuf as the head of his family. In this time, Yusuf was confronted with his second trial. Zuleika, the wife of Al-Aziz, who sat with Yusuf all day long, was beginning to feel passionate about Yusuf. Her love for him grew to the point that she was determined to satisfy her dream. A few days ago, while her husband had gone away at home, she shut the doors and welcomed Yusuf to come to her. Yusuf, fearing Allah, replied, "I seek refuge in Allah. In fact, Allah is my master and has helped me to settle in my place. The wrongdoers won't be able to succeed." Zuleika pursued him, Desperate for help, she grabbed his shirt from his back and caused his shirt to tear. The door opened, and Al-Aziz was the first to enter. Ahmed ran towards him and demanded, "What is the recompense of the one who intended evil for your wife, but that he be imprisoned or a painful punishment?" Yusuf was confused. He denied the claim of his mistress, saying, "It was she who sought to seduce me." Al-Aziz was a gentleman. He was in a state of confusion and uncertain about who to believe. He consulted his wife's friend for guidance. "If his shirt is torn from the front, then she has told the truth and he is of the liars," said the cousin. In this way, the innocence of Yusuf was proved. Al-Aziz apologized for his wife's indecency and took vows to Yusuf to keep her secrets. However, the story of the chase by Zuleika was widely circulated. Some women started mocking her personality. Devastated, Zuleika planned to prove to them her indifferent reaction to the stunning beauty of Yusuf. Therefore, she invited these women to a meal at her home the next day. They were served fruit together with knives. As the ladies were chattering away while cutting fruit, Zuleika summoned Yusuf. The women stared at Yusuf. Bewildered by his beautiful beauty, the women cut their hands without realizing that they had. Zuleika was quick to declare that it was this man who was responsible for her misfortune. She also advised Yusuf of the fact that should he did not listen to her again, he'd be detained. And Yusuf responded, "My lord, prison is more to my liking than that to which they invite me." In the evening, Zuleika made her husband believe that the best way to preserve her honor and prestige was to put him in prison. Yusuf. This was how Yusuf was imprisoned. While Yusuf was in prison, he was blessed an ability of interpreting dreams. Two of Yusuf's cellmates, fascinated by his religious zeal and devotion to God, contacted him to have his dreams clarified. One of them dreamed that he was serving the king wine, while the other one was wearing food on his face, which was being eaten by two birds. Yusuf initially directed the birds to Allah, before interpreting, "O two companions of prison. For the one, he'll serve his master a glass of wine. But in the case of the second one, he will be executed while the birds be eating off his head. The decree has been made to you by Allah. You are both able to inquire," and he advised the one believed would be released. "Mention me before your master." However, Shaitan caused him to forget the reference to his master, and Yaqub was imprisoned for a few years. One day, the king of Egypt was awoken by an unusual dream. He summoned his soldiers and stated, "Indeed, I have witnessed 7 fat cows being devoured by 7 slim and 7 green spikes of grain, and some that were dry. O noble ones, describe my vision should you be able to interpret the visions." The king sent his cupbearer in prison to talk to Yusuf and discuss the strange dream. Yusuf was overwhelmed by seeing his friend and was convinced that this was in fact the intention of Allah. He told him, "You will plant 7 consecutive years, and the harvest you make will be left on its spreads with the exception of some of which you'll consume. After that will be 7 difficult years that will consume the things you have advanced, saved to them, with some of which you'll keep. Then, after that will be 1 year, in which the people will receive rain, and they press grapes and olives." Astonished, the king ordered Yusuf to appear before him. Yusuf, however, was unable to leave his prison until innocence was proven. The king therefore summoned women in relation to the incident. The women who had had their hands cut spoke about Yusuf's innocence to the king. "Allah forbid, we have no knowledge of his wrongdoing." She was the wife Al-Aziz was caught. She told his king that, "Now all the facts have been made clear. I was the one who attempted to lure him into a trap, and in truth, he's honest." So the innocence of Yusuf was established. After being released from prison, Yusuf appeared before the king, thanking for his kindness. The king, who was impressed by the honesty of Yusuf's mannerisms and pleasant manner of conduct, made him a candidate as the storekeeper for the stores across his territory. Yusuf harvested and stored his crops in the fertile 7 seasons. Then came the time of famine, which also was felt by the family that belonged to Yaqub, who lived in Canaan. Yaqub took all his sons, with the exception of Binyamin in Egypt, to buy food items. Yusuf immediately recognized his brothers and arranged. To them, however, he kept his identity hidden. He asked concerning their relatives. Brothers informed storekeeper about their home in Canaan, as well as their brother and father back home. Yusuf advised the brothers to take their brother with them the next time, or else they will not receive any more food items. The man also put the cash they spent on their food and supplies as a reason to bring them back. The brothers went home and told their parents, "O our father, the measure was refused to us. Therefore we must send our brother so that we can be granted a measure. In fact, we are his protectors." Yaqub was furious. How could he be sure of their trust after they'd failed him horribly with Yusuf earlier? After a while, but their demands forced Yaqub to have Binyamin join them to get more food. He took their solemn vow to secure him. When they arrived in Egypt, Yusuf drew Binyamin away and whispered in the ear, "Indeed, I am your brother, so do not despair over what they used to do to me." The next day, Yusuf was able to fill his brother bags with grain. He then hidden the golden bowl of the king in Binyamin's bag. As they were leaving, their brothers encountered king's soldiers who were searching for the cup that was missing from the king's palace. The brothers' bags were searched, and the cup that was missing was recovered from the bag of Binyamin, the younger brother Binyamin. The soldiers shouted, "O caravan, indeed you are thieves." The brothers were stunned. They immediately thought of their father who was sick back home and their promise to protect Binyamin at any price. They requested the soldiers to let go of their younger brother and release one of them. However, the soldiers were unable to agree. The oldest of the brothers stated, "I will never leave this land until my father permits me or Allah decides for me." So the other brothers went to Egypt, leaving the oldest behind. When Yaqub learned of his eldest son's plight, Yaqub wept and wept until the blindness of his eyes began. He turned to prayer for comfort as he knew only Allah could alleviate his suffering. Then he advised his sons to return to the land of the king and inquire about their brother. The boys went back to Egypt for the second time. They had a meeting with Yusuf and begged him to stop the tragedy that was afflicting them. Yusuf then addressed them in their own dialect. "Do you know what you did with Yusuf and his brother when you were ignorant?" It wasn't long before the brothers to realize it was indeed their long-lost brother, and they began to shake in anxiety. However, Yusuf assured them that no reproach on you this day, may Allah forgive you. Then he said, "Take this my shirt and cast it over the face of my father, his eyesight will return." According to the instructions as instructed, the brothers threw the shirt of their fathers over his face, and Allah magically restored the vision. They pleaded with their fathers to ask for forgiveness from Allah for their father. All of them set off for Egypt, where Yusuf graciously received them. Yusuf lifted his father to the throne and spoke, suggested read, "Is cutting your hair a sin? I Blackstone Kaaba, Hajri Aswad, Allahumma innaka afuwun hadith." O my father, this is the explanation for my dream of the past. The Lord has brought it to real. It was certainly a blessing for me when he brought me out of prison and took. You hear from the life of a Bedouin after Satan created discord among my brother and me. In fact, my Lord is insensitive to what he wants. Indeed, it's he who is one who knows and the wise. So Allah has brought father and son together.